Hey everyone, ahlan wa sahlan fikum. It is Adrian from PalWeb. I have not made a video in quite a long time, so I'm kind of nervous or excited. I don't know how I'm feeling about it. But yeah, I have been hard at work on PalWeb, which I'm going to show you in just a second. But the purpose of this video really is, to go through the dialogues that I've created on PalWeb. So some of you old heads know that I had these annotated transcripts that I did, which were basically these like videos that were in Arabic, and then I just like wrote out what it was, like what everyone was saying. So and I had these like really long videos where I explained all of that. Like I just went through them. By the way, this is PalWeb. And I basically want to redo those videos all over again, but there's a reason because when I did them the first time, I'm going to start going to them. When I did them the first time, it was literally just sort of just written out, literally, like in a PDF file, and then eventually on the website in a way earlier version. And then it always kind of kept improving a little bit, but the way that they are now using all of the sort of infrastructure that I've created for PalWeb means that they work so much better now because you can actually let's actually go to the dialogue. You can actually not only do you have like all the sentences actually written out, but you can all the sentences are like individual objects within the website so that you can look at them individually if you want the sentences, and then each one has it's like made up of a bunch of component terms which you can in turn navigate to in the dictionary, and then you can see all the sentences that that term appears in. So there's like so many more options and so many more things that you can do. You can bookmark the sentence, you can or pin it, you can pin the words and do all kinds of stuff. Listen to them. So this is just miles ahead of what we had before, and I'm really excited about this. So I wanted to just go through them again because I also think that now I'm able to do it sort of much more quickly because those old videos are like an hour each, really. And actually 2 hours because some of them are like an hour each, but then it's like part one, part two. I really think the cool thing about this is that because you can kind of look at every single individual sentence deeply, you don't have to just take my word for like the translation that I've written out, but you can actually sort of see how the sentence like acquires this meaning by like looking at what each individual word means, if that makes sense. So if there's ever like if you look at any of these sentences and you're like, oh, I don't know that word, or like I don't get it, you can just go and actually go to that terms page in the dictionary and look at more information. So when I go over the dialogues, I don't have to explain every single word because maybe someone won't actually know that word, and I don't need to do that because you can actually kind of just do that yourself. So the purpose of these videos is a few things. Like first of all, just kind of demonstrate how to make use of PalWeb and how to best make use of these kinds of resources, and then focus on sort of specific words and expressions that I think like are just sort of yeah, maybe I can help clarify in any case in an explanatory video like as I'm doing right now. uh, not just the meaning of this or that word, but like how, like, yeah, just try to give an explanation of how best to use it in context or how it's being used in this context and so on. So I'm just going to kind of pause, like, I'm just going to read through it. And that's the other point. The other point is to kind of just go through it slowly, read it slowly, because obviously the videos, they're speaking at a natural pace, so it's pretty fast. So just kind of speak slowly and carefully. Uh, and then yeah, I'm just gonna kind of pause at a couple of different points to just develop some ideas here. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm gonna be doing with these like remakes of these dialogue videos. And yeah, and if you want access to this, basically, I mean, let's start by saying that PalWeb is essentially free, right? I mean, you just making an account is free. You can use the In fact, you don't even you need an account to like access the dictionary. If you look at the menu, like kind of just shows you everything that there is. The library has the dictionary, the phrase book, which is the sort of sentence repository, let's say this. I mean, I'm not going to delve into, I'm not going to delve into all the different things that you can do, but yeah, you do need an account though to look at the decks and the audios and stuff. But yeah, it's like the a lot, let's say half or more than half, really, like the majority of things on the site are absolutely free. I want it to be that way. But then the part that's going to be through subscriptions is going to be the Academy portion, which, among other things, includes the dialogues. So these, I mean, these annotated transcripts, it's always been that way. They've always, like, they were on Patreon and then they were on the site, but actually never at this level. So now is like the best time to get access to this, and that way you can go through it at your own pace and so on. I still, though, I really want as much of it to be just publicly accessible. So in any case, I'm gonna go through them. And so those of you who, for whatever reason, that you don't want to subscribe to PalWeb right now or whatever, you can still kind of enjoy these explanations. But obviously, you're not going to be able to actually interact with all this at your own pace. So keep that in mind. And also keep in mind that the Academy is like, I'm in the process of building all of this. I have been for the past like 3 years at this point. So yeah, so like stuff like this that you're gonna see here, like lessons, quiz, or my progress, that I'm working on that right now. So like in reality, like if the main sort of thing that you're getting right now, if you subscribe, are the dialogues, and then some other things here and there, but that's the main thing, because I'm working on the other stuff right now. And actually, you guys subscribing and supporting is really sort of helps me to actually be able to do this. So keep that in mind, obviously. But yeah, I'm just gonna start going through this. This first dialogue is essentially like it's the first one I did, and it's like just sort of a PSA, public information kind of video about the coronavirus, which I think it came out, yeah, in like 2020 or something like that. And so they're kind of explaining just like some guidelines to protect yourself from the COVID, and it is, because of that, it is a little bit sort of heavy-handed in terms of like a lot of like health related vocab and stuff like that. But I think that that it'll be fine. So let's go through it. And here it says like who says which things, right? The speaker. It's mostly, actually, it's only the mom and dad who are speaking in this case, in this video. So, مرحبا يا جماعة. Ya jama'a, jama'a is like everyone, or like it's like community people. I said I wasn't going to do this, go through every single little word, but yeah, so I'll leave that. I'll leave you to do all that. مرحبا يا جماعة. Hello everyone. عم نسمع, we're hearing, عن أمراض وفيروسات أشكال وألوان. And this is one of the expressions that I like, and just to show you like what you can do here. So this means like we're hearing about all kinds. All kinds is essentially what this means, أشكال وألوان, of diseases and viruses. And the cool thing is you can go to the sentence and find, and see the meaning of every single word in the sentence, which is listed down here, and it'll tell you أشكال وألوان means all sorts, types, kinds. You might recognize the sort of words within this expression because it's like an idiom, it's a phrase. If you actually go to the term, you can see the meaning, and you can see that it's an idiom, which is like, yeah, just a phrase that has its own kind of particular meaning, from shekel, which means shape, and lon, which means color. And then you can navigate to that in turn. So you would be able to see that literally it means shapes and colors, but it just means like all types of diseases and viruses. But yeah. Anyway, influenza الطيور وinfluenza الخنازير, avian flu and swine flu. وهلا now الكل بيحكي عن فيروس كورونا. Now everyone, الكل, everyone is speaking about the coronavirus. بالنسبة إلنا, as far as we're concerned, as for us, عائلة أبو سند, the Abu Sanad family, عملنا اجتماع طارئ. We did or had an emergency meeting. وقررنا نعمل اللي علينا ونتكل على ربنا. We decided to do what we must. I want to take a look at this for a second, and then just نتكل, to trust in our God, essentially. But this is one of the words that I wanted to focus on, ala, and and as well. These two. Well, actually, let's get to this, and then I'll look at them together. But in this case, this is functioning kind of as a verb, right? In this case, meaning what we have to do. It's better to just look at it, just focus on it in a second. So I'll come back to that. But مثلا, for example, Sanad دايما بنسى يغسل إيديه. For example, Sanad always forgets to wash his hands. فقررنا, so we decided إنه يكون عنا قائدة. We decided that we have. So how does this mean we have? We'll look at it in a second. قائدة is a rule. So let's actually open the sentence up and look at this. So عليه says it means to have to. So I'm gonna open this in a new tab. And let's come down here and look at عنده. Says عنده, to have. Let's look at that in a new tab as well. Or okay, whatever. So the first thing you'll notice is, like, you may recognize that these are prepositions, ala, which means, well, okay, so the preposition ala, and then here the preposition and. But I've written it as عنده and as عليه. And the reason is to kind of distinguish that here, this is sort of separate. It's a separate word in a way from the actual preposition, which if you look here, it says verb, pseudo, idiom. So it means it's a pseudo verb and it's idiomatic, which means that its meaning is sort of different or unique from what its meaning would be as a preposition, to put it one way. And عنده is the same story, verb, pseudo, idiom. And it actually says in the etymology that it's an idiom from عند. So the actual preposition is عند, right? And that means at, where something is. There's a few different meanings. Someone's place, and so on. But then there is عنده, and then this suffix here at the end, it refers to him, right? عندي, عندها, عنده. It's a pronoun essentially. So, and the reason I include that is because just to show that this is essentially conjugated. It has to be. Whenever these prepositions are used as pseudoverbs, they're always conjugated. So it has to be عنده or عندي or عندها or whatever. And عليه is the same story. This is an idiom from على. The preposition means to, on, and so on. But then it can also be used in a kind of verbal sense, and that has a different meaning. And actually, so there's a couple different types of pseudoverbs. Essentially, a pseudoverb, it's not really a verb, or it is a verb, but it's not like etymologically a verb. It doesn't have, like, you don't conjugate it the same way. It's kind of a unique sort of category of verbs, and you can actually count them on your two hands. And they're all conjugated using suffixes. So, for example, the classic one is بدي, right? Which is conjugated with the suffixes. So بدي, بدك, بده, and so on and so forth. And actually, within the pseudoverbs, you can also kind of sort of categorize them. بدي is just a very classic pseudoverb, which in all other ways operates the same as any other verb. But sort of pseudoverbs that are originally or come from prepositions, you see bid. So if you have biddo, right? If you remove the suffix and you just have bid, this is not a word really. It doesn't even mean anything, at least in the dialect. And it's not a preposition or anything. But there are a few. In fact, you know what I can do? I believe I should actually be able to search for verbs in the dictionary and then select for pseudoverbs, and I should get all of them exactly, at least the ones that are here. بده, شكله, عنده, إله, معه, فيه, عليه. إله, عليه is kind of even a composite of several pseudoverbs. But yeah, so بدو and شكله kind of work their own way, and then all the other ones are prepositions. عند, إلى, which means to or for, مع, which means with, في, which means in, على, which means to, on, and so on. So these are all prepositions which then have a suffix, essentially. And notice that they all kind of have the same meaning, in a way. Like different subtleties to it, but essentially they all mean to have. And the reason is because these prepositions are, grammatically speaking, they're modifying the existential verb in Arabic, which isn't used in the present tense. Well, essentially to be, right? In Arabic, in the present, to be is not it's not used. So ana Adrian means I am Adrian, but we don't. But if I say, I was busy, ana kunt mashghul, we do use the verb to be, but in the present we don't. So essentially, these prepositions are modifying that missing hidden verb, which means to exist. So that's how like the meaning of to have sort of emerges, because what you're saying is that there is at me, well, what's the sentence here originally that we were looking at? Oh yeah, we would have a rule. And so, what was I going to say? I forgot. Yeah, well, so it means that literally there is at us a rule. There is for me, I don't know, a car, which means that I own a car. It belongs to me. My means there is with me. It even makes sense in English. Like there's a bottle with me. I mean, it sounds weird, but it means I have a bottle. And in Arabic, it means I have it on my, like physically in my possession. And so on. You can look at all these individually, but that's kind of what's going on here. And obviously, if you want to put it in the past or in the future or whatever you want to do, you modify this with a verb like can. And can, I wanted to look at this as well, but, and this is kind of tricky. This is just kind of getting into like sort of nerdy grammar stuff. But the actual verb in Arabic the actual verb to be is it's not even can in a way. It's completely blank. But when I say ana kunt, I am modifying the blank verb to express it as being in the past with can. And that makes can what's called a copulative verb, which is essentially like anyway, let's just say it's modifying the existence of something by saying that it was in the past or in the future. But because in the present, I don't need to modify it in any way because that's default, I don't use can. The reason to mention this is because there are other copulative verbs. There are other verbs that express essentially the state of something and whether that state is changing in any way. So can means there is no change in state, but there are other verbs, and the reason I mention this is because it's also in this dialogue. Where is it? It's in صار عنده حرارة. I know he says that. Well, we'll look at it in a second. But so I can say, so not only can I say كان عنا, we had, which means that the having was in the past and it didn't change. If I say صار عنا, it means to become, essentially. So the state was not true, and then it was true after. So صار عنا, it means we came to have. We didn't have, and then we had. And then there's the opposite, which is بطل, another copulative verb, which means the opposite. It means that a state was true, and then it stopped being true. So بطل means to stop, and we can look at all of this in the dictionary. And not duck, بطل. So of a state that ends, it was no longer, and then, or if you're talking about an action, to stop doing that. So if I say بطل عنا, so if I just say كان عنا, we had. If I say صار عنا, we came to have. We didn't have and then we did have. And if I say بطل عنا, it means we had and then we didn't. So we no longer had. بطل عنا قاعدة, we no longer had a rule. صار عنا قاعدة, we started having a rule. كان عنا قاعدة, we had a rule just without any modification. So obviously that might sound kind of sort of nerdy, but and tricky, but that is how Arabic works. And I think once you get the hang of it, it actually makes a ton of sense. Where otherwise these kinds of structures would be really weird and confusing, because if you just try to translate it literally, it just doesn't seem to make sense. So those are two key things that I wanted to look at today. One was these prepositional pseudoverbs. And most of them, or essentially all of them, which means some kind of variant of to have, and then these copulative verbs which describe like how a state evolves over time, whether it doesn't, as in can, or whether it comes to be, or whether it ceases to be. And there are even other ones, but these are the main ones. And yeah, I get nerdy about that stuff because I think it's really interesting once you get the hang of it. So back to the original sentence that we were looking at with عليه, نعمل اللي علينا. So على specifically, so this prepositional pseudoverb specifically means literally, okay, you can literally, I mean, since على means on, if I just say عليه سكر, I guess it means like it has, right, sugar on it. There's sugar on it, right? Just to give an example. Physically on, right? Whereas if I say فيه سكر with the preposition be, which means in, that would mean it has sugar in it, right? هاي القهوة فيها سكر. This coffee has sugar, right? And it's not that, or it is that the verb fi, or the preposition fi here, is working as a verb essentially. Anyway, I don't want to dwell too much on that, but it can also mean ala or ale, to have to do something, and that comes from the meaning of on. So it's like saying it is upon me, it is on me to do this. So the meaning ends up being like I have to do this, and we can look at some examples. Obviously the sentence that we were looking at, but here's another one. الأولاد كان عليهن, this is sort of northern dialect. الأولاد كان عليهن يلونوا, it was upon them, literally, so they had to. يلونوا خريطة الشرق الأوسط, they had to color the map of the Middle East, right? So the cool thing is that, yeah, you can see other sentences, and I think that's pretty helpful. So yeah, let's keep going through this. So قررنا, okay, yeah. فقررنا إنه يكون عنا قاعدة. We decided that we have, that there be at us, this is how we would have to construct it, a rule. ممنوع حد يأكل أي إشي إلا بعد ما يغسل إيديه منيح. Rather than saying nobody, we say it's forbidden for someone to eat anything except after washing their hands well. And this is another word that I just want to dwell on for a second. It's a bit simpler, really. So in English, we would say except after, or what did I say? After eating? After washing their hands. So in English, you would just say after washing. But here in Arabic, we have this word that is essentially linking prepositions. And actually, I need to adjust this definition because it's not only prepositions, but in general, mostly for linking prepositions to verbs. So I have to say after ma يغسل, after that he washes. So again, there's actually a ton of examples of this. Well, a ton. I mean, there's many. So yeah, in fact, it's not only prepositions, but if we load, I guess it's loading. There we go. قد ما تقدري, as much as you can, until you arrive or reach. from the time that you told me. See, time is not a preposition, but it can be used with certain indefinite nouns. Anyway, after he died, بعد ما مات, مثل ما بيقول, as it says, مين ما بدك, whoever, well, yeah, well, this is similar, but this is actually a particular usage where مين ما something would be whoever, شو ما something would be whatever. So I might need to list this under a different meaning. But anyway, عبين ما يصير في. Oh, actually, this is a usage of the copulative verb صار, which again means come to be. A state begins. So في محل, there is a place. So whereas the sentence is saying you have to wait, لازم تستنوا, you must wait. عبين, until, while, or until. And this is a preposition, so ma يصير, so while it comes to be that a place frees up. Again, this is not something that you will like, you're just going to hear me explain this and then suddenly you're going to use it perfectly. You need to kind of get used to it. But the great thing is that that's exactly what these examples are for. So you can see like a lot of examples and kind of get the gist of it over time. And actually, if you go to Saud, you can see tons of examples of all of this, of the state changing things. There's some of these. I'm not gonna look at them now, but that's the whole idea. So the Saud is modifying fi mahal. It's saying that there, not just that there is a place, but you need to wait until there comes to be a place. Anyway, so. That's ma, which is linking prepositions to verbs. So except after that, or after washing, after he washes his hands well. Anyway, ممنوع حدا يمسك وجهه أو أنفه أو تمه أو عينيه من دون, and again من دون, without, ما يكون, being, without being, مغسل إيديه. Actually, frankly, this transcript is it has a lot of these a little bit tricky structures. مغسل is an active participle, which you may have heard of. By the way, to be fair, these videos and these dialogues are for like a more advanced level. Like this is after learning quite a few things. So hopefully this should in a way be review, but it just depends on where you are. I don't have any control over who's watching this and at what level they're at, but it could still be interesting. Anyway, مغسل is the active part. If you go to the page, it'll tell you it's the active participle of غسل, which in turn means to wash, and obviously you have the conjugations and everything. So it means to wash, to scrub. And مغسل is the active participle. Now, what do active participles mean? I have a video about this, but I think that I want to do over a lot of those videos because I think there's kind of an easier way to explain it. In reality, in most cases, it means that someone has already completed an action, and so in English we have participles in the form of swimming. I am swimming. It's like it's an adjective, technically. Like participles are adjectives in English and in Arabic. So I am swimming. It's obviously we think of it as a verb because semantically the meaning is that it's an action, but grammatically it's an adjective. And that's why in Arabic it has sort of masculine, feminine, and plural forms because it is an adjective, and so it works that way. And the point is that it's an adjective that, unlike English participles, the Arabic participles have a slightly different meaning. And in this case, it's that an action has been completed. And actually it corresponds more to the English perfect mood, I guess it is, which means I have done something. So أنا مغسل إيدي means I have washed my hands. أنا غسلت, which is the verb. أنا غسلت إيدي means I washed my hands. أنا مغسل إيداي means I have washed my hands. There's a slight difference in meaning. One is I wash my hands, but maybe I washed my hands last year. It doesn't have any relevance for the present. Whereas أنا مغسل إيداي means like I have already washed my hands, so my hands are washed. The thing is, I could have washed my hands last year and then my hands got dirty again, and then I don't have any information about whether my hands are clean now or washed now. And the point is that now, if I use the participle which says I have done something, it means that that is still valid and true and relevant for the present. It's kind of like saying, I went to Palestine versus I have been to Palestine. I went, okay, I mean, it kind of means the same thing, but I have been, it's saying that this is an experience that I have now. Kind of emphasizes the relevance for the present. In fact, it could be that you went to Palestine 10 different times, but it sort of doesn't have any relevance for the present. It doesn't have any information about that. So because these are adjectives, obviously, the same way that, I mean, we modify them, like we put them in the present, in the past, and all that, just using the verb like can, or a copulative verb. It doesn't actually have to be can. It can be صار, it can be بطل. But, well, that would be kind of weird, but you could, theoretically. And the point is that, yeah, that's why without having, or without being, literally without being, having washed his hands. But it's just without having washed their hands. It's just that in English, it is, we don't use a participle here. We use this have, to have done something, which is a sort of an auxiliary verb that indicates the perfect tense. But in Arabic, it's an adjective. So that's that can cause confusion, again, because it's not even that the Arabic structure is that complicated. It's just that it differs from English in that this is an adjective and this is a verb. So the structure is a little bit different. So yeah, actually, I think this is the only participle that's used in this particular dialogue. So, but they come up a lot. So yeah, anyway, keep going. هلا بنيجي للطريقة الصحيحة لغسل اليدين. So now we come to a right way of washing one's hands. لازم نغسل ايدينا كتير منيح على القليلة 20 ثانية. Pretty straightforward. We must wash our hands very well, at least for 20 minutes. For 20 seconds. Sorry, and seconds, of course, is in the singular because the number is greater than 10. وننظف, and this continues the sentence actually. لازم ننظف منيح بين أصابعنا وتحت أظافرنا beneath our nails وإيدينا من قدام ومن ورا. Again, I'm not going to go through every single word because it's, if you can open it up and look at it yourself. And here's the translation. So, ثانيا, secondly, قررنا إنه ما نروح, we decided that we not go على تجمعات كبيرة, big gatherings. وإذا اضطرينا, اضطر meaning to be obligated or to have to do something. إذا اضطرينا نطلع بلاها عادة التبويس لما نسلم على بعض. So first of all, عادة التبويس, the habit of kissing when, like kissing on the cheek, when we greet to بعض meaning each other. Important word there. وبلاها, it's kind of a weird to translate word. Bala means without, but it can be used as this kind of particle meaning let's not, or don't do something, essentially. So literally without it, but it's just saying don't habit of kissing. Don't habit of kissing. Just don't do that when we greet each other. So it's just a particle that just, it's kind of like imperative, negative imperative, don't do this. Yeah, anyway. ونتذكر نغسل إيدينا منيح بعد المشوار, and we should remember to wash our hands well after the errand or the outing or whatever. ولازم, and we must, لازم نأكد, we must ensure to our kids, literally, but لازم نأكد على أولادنا إنه ما يمسكوا أي أسطح, any surfaces, أو يحطوا وجوههم أوتمهم على أي إشي بمكان عام. So yeah, not to grab any surfaces or put their faces on or mouths or anything on in a public place. ثالث شيء Sally is the girl. Sally لما تعطس بتحممنا كلنا. She sneezes, she bathes all of us. By the way, again, there are a couple of sort of little tiny more slightly elevated language. It's not standard Arabic, but you know, instead of ثالث شيء ثانيا, the just slight little things. فقررنا, so we decided إنه أي حدا, anyone, بعطس لازم يستخدم محرمة وبعدين يكبها بالزبالة ويغسل إيديه منيح. Pretty straightforward, I think, this one. وسالي صارت تعمل هيك. So again, صار, which indicates ultimately a change in state. Something begins. Well, it could be a change in state, but if it's used with a verb, it's a change. An action begins. So it means she started to do so. She started to do هيك, so she started doing so. وخبرت صحباتها يعملوا نفس الإشي. She informed her friends to do the same thing. عشان نمنع انتشار العدوى. In order to prevent, معناه to prevent انتشار, the spread of infection. وإذا في, and if there is, وإذا في حدا مريض, anyway, وإذا في حدا مريض لا سمح الله لازم يلبس كمامة طبية, face mask, medical mask. So if anyone is sick, God forbid, he should wear a medical mask عشان ما ينقل, in order to not move العدوى للي حواليه, to move the infection to those that are around him. والكمامة لازم تتغير وتنكب كل 8 ل 10 ساعات. There's two things I want to look at. First of all, the numbers. So when we count things, we don't use the sort of standard form of the numbers, which is like, in this case, 8. So 8 and 10 are 8 and 10. But here we see 8 و 10 ساعات. And the reason is because the numbers actually up to 19. So the numbers 3 to 10 have a certain construct form. So it has a form for like when you actually count things, like 3 books, 4 books, 5 books, whatever. And then the numbers 11 to 19 have also a construct form, which is slightly different. Most cases with the numbers from 3 to 10, they end in tamarbuta, they end in a, and then you just remove that. So ثلاثة ساعات, 3 versus 3 hours. Some of them are a little bit different, like 8 becomes 8 ساعات. So that was one thing, and again, obviously you can go to, if you see that and you're like, what is going on? Why is it 8? And then I see 8. You can go to the word and it should say construct 8. And then you can look at the sentences and notice that here is الساعة 8 at 8, من 8 الصبح, at from 8 in the morning, versus here it's 8 ساعات. So you can actually see it in action, how sometimes it's 8 and sometimes it's 8, حسب, according to whether you're actually counting something or not. And then the other thing I want to look at is تتغير وتنكب. So in like the passive voice in Arabic is it's different from English. It's not that it's complicated, it's just different. It's just the way that it is in Arabic, and there's a couple different ways to make things be in the passive. So here the meaning is the mask must be changed and be thrown away. And really that's all it is. It's just, instead of using, as in English, be with what is this, a past or a past participle? It changed, thrown. So in English, yeah, we say is changed, is thrown, the verb is actually is, and then these are participles. So that's how English. So ironically, remember with the present participles, we said that in Arabic it's an adjective and in English it's a verb, but here's the other way around. The passive voice is formed with a verb in English, with a verb and then an adjective, and in Arabic it's just a verb, and the verb itself contains the passive meaning. So we can actually look at these. Let's look at this. Well, maybe, I mean, we can look at that, but let's look at this one, which is a little bit more obvious. Inkab. So inkab means to be thrown out, to be thrown away. And the cool thing is that this will also list the non-passive form. It's a little bit, it's not trickier, but there's more, in addition to like active versus passive, there are other types of sort of dyadic relationships between verbs where one means, for example, to do something to someone else versus the other one means to do it to yourself. That's a reflexive. There's a couple different types of relationships, and I sort of grouped them in certain ways based on whether the verb doesn't have an object. Like, for example, I walked. That doesn't have an object. I walked. Versus verbs that have an object, like kab, right? Kabbet il-may. I spilled the water, or I threw out the mask. It also means to throw out. So that has an object, right? And then there are verbs that the person who apparently does the action, the subject of the verb, is the patient. It is the one that receives the action. It is the subject, but it receives the action. So here, the verb is labeled as is patient, which means that whatever is in kab, that actually received the action of being thrown away. So the definition is to be thrown out. And then it links to the has object counterpart, which is kab, which has an object, and it means to throw out, to throw away, and then this links back to inkab. So kab, to throw out, inkab, to be thrown out. And then there's further information, like in this case, it's mediopassive, because is patient, like reflexive. So if I bathe my dog, the dog is the object, so that has an object. But if I hammamd, I bathed myself, I bathed. And so that's reflexive. I received the action, so it is as kind of this is patient verb, but it's not that different, but I kind of categorize it slightly differently where I did the action to myself, whereas here it's just something else. It was thrown out just generally by some unknown force. It didn't throw itself out. But yeah, it's kind of, it's in the same sort of grouping of verbs where the subject is the patient. So, yeah, just kind of, I know I'm kind of going through a lot of stuff. The next videos where I go through the dialogues are probably not going to be as long just because I'm also kind of showing the features and how to use this site and all this stuff. But you can see more, if you want more information about like how all this works, you can look at the wiki, and yeah, you can just, actually some of this still needs to be filled out or like just written up, or not written up, but anyway, I have stuff written up, but I need to actually post it. But yeah, you can find further information about that here. It'll explain about this different sort of object, patient, all this stuff, and these categories that I've used. So anyway, والكمامة لازم تتغير وتنكب كل 8 ل 10 ساعات إذا لا سمح الله, if God forbid, أي حدا فينا صار عنده. This is the one I was going to look at. So the one that I mentioned earlier. If anyone فينا, among us, in this case, so be means in, but it can also mean among. أي حدا فينا, anyone in us, anyone among us, صار عنده حرارة. So عنده حرارة, he has a fever. كان عنده حرارة, he had a fever. صار عنده حرارة, he came to have a fever, developed a fever in a way. So, but anyway, I translated it this way. If anyone among us came to have a fever, has a fever now, or yeah, came to وجع what? عنده حرارة. وجع بالحلق, sort like pain in the throat. وجع راس, pain in the head, i.e. headache. وقحة, as he says. أو حس بالغثيان أو تقيؤ أو تنفس, like it's just nausea, vomiting, shortness of breath, all this stuff. لازم ناخده. Oh, you know what? Okay, I had made a small correction, but I think I did it accidentally on my local server. He pronounces it as ناخده because he speaks in a particular dialect. So the transcriptions of all the of what you see here, it's actually based on how it is pronounced actually in the video. So you might this particular verb, for example, if you look at all the example sentences, sometimes it might be transcribed one way versus another. It just depends on how that particular person has pronounced it. So that also kind of shows you the possible variations. So that should be changed now. وما so we should take him to emergencies quickly, or urgent care. وما يروح على الشغل أو المدرسة. He shouldn't go to school or to work or school. حتى, in order to. حتى has several meanings. That's one of them. يحمي حاله, protect himself. وما ينقل, again ينقل, to move. It's the same thing as what was said above. ما ينقل العدوى للآخرين, not to move the infection to others. مسؤوليتنا, our responsibilities. إنه نحمي حالنا, our responsibility is to protect ourselves. ونساعد بعدم انتشار الأمراض المعدية. The only weird word here is عدم. Just more sort of elevated speech, really. It's not. I haven't even included this in the dictionary. I don't know if I will, but it means like non, or it just kind of negates what noun comes after. So عدم انتشار. Intishar is the spread, so it's like the non-spread. To help. So I wrote to help prevent. It's not. The word prevent is not actually here. It just means to help in the non-spread of infectious diseases. Infectious diseases. ما تشوفوا شر, may no evil befall you, like may you be well. إن شاء الله. وبتمنى السلامة للجميع. And I hope for well-being for you all. And that's it. That's the video is kind of short. It's a little bit complicated because it has sort of some, like a lot of vocab really that you don't really need to really worry that much about, depending. But yes, the first one is short, and it's the first one I made. But yeah, it contains sort of several of these interesting structures, like more advanced structures, really. This is really like more for actually the idea of this is that you start with the lessons, and then after that you kind of graduate onto the dialogues. Because in real speech, although it's never bad to, like, no matter your level, to just to watch these, to take a look, because you'll always learn new things, and you'll kind of, you'll train your ear. So it's always good. But yeah, in real life, like, there are all kinds of sort of funky ways that people express themselves. Like, you're gonna get everything all at once. Sometimes people will be speaking very simply, and then suddenly you'll hear all kinds of structures that you're kind of unfamiliar with. But yeah, hopefully you see how PalWeb can help you sort of grapple with Arabic and practice, because there's so much information here, and everything is kind of interconnected, and you can kind of go down a rabbit hole and really have all your questions answered, see exactly how things are used in a sentence, the different pronunciations, synonyms, everything. That's why, even though this video ended up probably being longer than I expected, it is longer than I expected, that's okay, because I was actually able to spend most of the time explaining structures and things like that, rather than just going through the vocab. In fact, I probably went through the vocab too much. I think I can just breeze through it a little bit in the next videos, because in reality, the actual vocab is just listed here. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful and interesting. Let me know if you do have any questions. I think that's what I'll do. The next videos are, like the actual dialogues are longer, so I'll need to go through them quicker and just focus on a couple things. And then if there are any lingering questions, you can just post them below and I will take a look at them. And yeah, see you in the next video.